Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this session. We're going to be hearing from four panelists today, and they're going to be talking about how the future of retail is human. Retail is evolving, and the new generation of consumers demands a higher standard when it comes to a brand's value. They look to bond with a brand that reflects their own values and want to trust what a brand stands for and understand its purpose. So we're about to hear from a wonderful group of speakers about ways that a brand can equip the new digital storefront with the same passion and human connection that is present in physical stores. Today's panel is made up of Susie Ross, who is a senior advisor to Accenture Retail. She's has a particular focus on how data can be made accessible and embedded within every area of an organization. We're going to hear from Kevin Van Leeuwen. He's the flagship director for the first Amiri retail boutique on Rodeo Drive this September. Rob Niedzwiecki, who helped us organize this panel, is a senior sales manager with Proximity Insight. And finally, we're joined by Brendan Flood, who's the CRM manager for fashion with the Chalhoub Group, the largest luxury retailer in the Middle East.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. We have a global audience today, and I'm super excited to be having this discussion on the future of retail as human. During this webinar, feel free to drop a couple of comments in the YouTube chat on the bottom right. We'll do our best to answer these questions as we're going on, and if we don't do that, we'll follow up with you guys afterwards. And on top of that, I want to say thank you so much to all of you for taking the time to listen to this conversation, to talk about how we're able to connect on a human level in the ever digital changing world of retail. My name is Rob, and I am with Proximity Insight. Proximity Insight is a software company that simply connects people with each other. And in the retail industry, we call this clienteling. If you want to learn more about Proximity Insight, there's a QR code right here. You're more than welcome to pick up your phone, scan it. You'll be able to schedule an appointment with us. You could see how our solution works. You could learn about our visions and values. And you'll also see a QR image behind my head as well. But we're not here to talk about our solution. What we're here is to talk about the power of human connection. And I'm going to go right into it and introduce our speakers. First one is, we have Brendan and Susie and Kevin. Brendan, if you want to take it from here.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Brendan Flood. Thank you, Rob, for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I am the CRM department manager for all the fashion vertical at the Chalhoub Group, which is the largest luxury retailer in the Middle East. And it is a pleasure to be here.
Susie, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Rob. Susie Ross. I'm the founder of a boutique strategy consultancy called Bureau of Customer Keepers, and we focus on customer analytics and helping organizations navigate a transformation from being product-centric to being customer-centric. I have a background as an entrepreneur. I was a founder and CEO of a premium denim brand for 10 years. I have also most recently been with Accenture.
And Kevin?
Sorry, guys. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening to everybody. My name is Kevin Van Leeuwen. I am the retail flagship director for Amiri. We are opening our first flagship store on Rodeo Drive this September. Amiri is a luxury fashion house that is launched in 2014, and we are excited to enter the world of Rodeo Drive and retail. So it's been my biggest privilege to start developing the team and opening the store in September. I've had over 16 years of luxury retail management in the Southern California area.
Perfect. So want to open it up and talk about a memorable experience. Recently that I've had one in the past, I had to buy something for my girlfriend. Her name is Christine. And she actually had her wallet completely torn into pieces, and she was ready for a new one. And it was a great idea to get her something for Christmas. And she loves the Kate Spade brand. And I'm not familiar with it. I walked into the store. I'm like, these are not products that I am familiar with or know what to buy. And there was a sales associate who saw I was a little bit uncomfortable. She came up to me, she introduced herself, and she spent a good hour going through different products, and specifically a wallet that was picked out, and it was beautiful. And now every single time I see Christine using this wallet, it always brings me back to this special moment that kind of resonates and sticks with me. So Brendan, the question for you is what's a memorable moment that you've experienced in the past?
Okay, good question. Well, if I had to say, there's probably, if I can cheat a little bit, there's kind of two that strike out very much in my mind. One was when I was much, much smaller than I am now, and I was in a store called Build-A-Bear Workshop back in the States. I'm sure some of you on the call may be familiar. But essentially the experience is you're a young kid, you walk into the store, and from beginning to end, they build this bear in front of you. You pick out what it's stuffed with, what clothes it's wearing, what it looks like. And right at the very end, they give you a little heart that you have to kiss, and they sew it into the bear. And that sticks out to me because it's one thing, it's capitalizing on a moment. You're taking something that's very, it's manufacturing, right? Someone can be doing that in the back of the house, but you bring it to the forefront and you make it something that's a touch point for someone, and they really make it personal. And that's something that I can't really ever forget about for that particular reason. And then the second would be something that very kind of churned my mind frame around how retail can work, and that's the Nordstrom men's store in New York. And in that store, there's so many amenities that have nothing to do with what they sell. There's a barber shop, there's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's a whole floor in the basement just to watch sports, and you can wander in there and forget that you're even in a retail experience because everything around there is catered for your experience. It's everything, every touch point there is optimized to make it fun to be in. And I spent maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours in that store with my family before I realized, oh, right, this is an actual store. Like, you can buy stuff here. And I walked out with more stuff than I probably would have, but that whole reason was like, this is something different. This is taking something very traditional and making it very modern and making it very memorable. And I think that had a huge impact on just how I view retail in general.
No, that's awesome. I've also gone through the Build-A-Bear, and I actually bought a gift for my niece that almost got regifted until they squeezed it, and I actually sent a message to my niece. But Susie, same question. What is something that was memorable for you?
I've been thinking about this for the last few hours, and I can't think of anything from a retailer that is memorable, which means maybe I'm shopping in the wrong shops, or retail has a journey to go on in terms of memorable experiences. But I often draw on the airline industry in terms of the recognition they have of the experience and the journey and how they can differentiate people's experiences. And a personal experience, I'm a very grumpy traveler. I like being at home, but I have to travel a lot for work. And I think it was like the 8th Monday in a row that I was at Heathrow Terminal 5 and 8 a.m. in the morning. I just didn't want to be there. And British Airways, I don't know whether they saw I was just in a foul mood, but they spontaneously upgraded me. And I think it transformed. I mean, it was transformed. I was delighted. And what was interesting about it, and I think it's the cost of doing it was minimal for them, and the perceived value to me was so high. So I think once retailers start to recognize their role as service providers, and ways in which they can differentiate experiences and differentiate customers, I hopefully will have a story to tell from retail next time you ask me that question.
I hope so as well. And the saddest moments in my professional career is when I lost my platinum status with American Airlines. Got that downgraded. Kevin, same question to you as well.
So it's actually not just one specific moment. It's more about the clients that I've developed over the course of a few years. And this one specifically comes to mind because she reached out last week, and it was like 10:30 at night, and she texted me up for a pair of shoes for a company that I worked at prior to Amiri. And she goes, I found these at Nordstrom's, but I rather, have you help me. And I said, well, I don't work there anymore, but let me facilitate it for you, because I still have a network and connection with most everybody that I worked with from previous employers. And I had met this specific client and her family in 2015, and they came into my store, and I started helping my sales associate help the whole family. There was 5 of them. They're from Ohio, and I've been able to, was just helping the father with a pair of shoes, and what could have turned into more of a challenging situation because he was frustrated turned into a really good situation, and we won him over with just customer service. And it's about listening to the client and what they need, and giving your full attention to what they're there for, because they walked into your store for a purpose and a reason. So understanding what that reason is, but being able to continue the relationship for years and years and years, and having their daughter still reach out to me 5 years later for a pair of shoes for a company that I don't work for anymore, and then only to have the next day her text me and her social media say, "Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Jay, from the store for getting me these beautiful shoes." But it wasn't even, she didn't have to walk in a store, and she didn't have to search or get frustrated. She knew exactly that I could help her, and I was able to facilitate a sale that had nothing to do with where I'm currently working, but it was about the relationship and the fact that these clients remember how you make them feel. And every time you make somebody feel special, that's when the relationship starts to develop. And that's what special feelings come to me when it comes to talking about retail. It's all about how I make the client feel and how the client responds. And the fact that you can think of me at 10:30 at night because you want a pair of shoes makes me feel amazing. So that's my story about how feeling special in retail.
No, that's amazing. And the fact that you have this relationship for over 5 years and still growing, and it's following you throughout your career.
Yeah.
The store is opening up in Amiri, exciting in September. So how do you want to recreate these experiences?
So the exciting part about joining Amiri has been the fact that we are a newer company, but I've been able to take my years of experience and my network and my connection with people, and be able to really build and facilitate a team that's going to set a high bar for what Amiri stands for, and for what clienteling and for relationship building looks like for the brand. Because I have super high expectations over the course of the past few years of it doesn't take much to connect with a client. It just takes listening and being fully devoted to hearing what they need.
Awesome. And Brendan, you mentioned earlier before of going to Nordstrom's Men, and there's like a barber shop, there's a restaurant and everything. There's this whole entire experience. I've actually been there as well recently. And do you want to recreate something similar with Chaloup? Are there any discussions on that? Like, what would you like to happen?
So one of the values of the group here is people at heart. And that is something that from a very, very top down is held very dearly within the group. And what we manifest people at heart is we have to really consider why we're in business. And I think it's a very, historic mindset to be in business to make money. But being as, the world itself is transforming and we as people are evolving, I think that the role of business is to serve a consumer, to serve their community, and to keep that person at the forefront of that. If you go from a visual design, you say that store, if you want to use that as an example, they put the products last. They had to build everything in that store before they could put merchandise in there. So they thought of the sale as a secondary point before they thought of how can I make this a great experience for my consumer, for my customer, for everyone who walks in that door. I think that's something that at Chaloup we really try to emphasize, and we work with a lot of global brands, especially in the Middle East, well, primarily in the Middle East, but what we really try to focus on is how are we serving people? It's a very, Rob, when you visit, you'll see it's a very common, you walk in and they ask you, it's second, how can I help you? It's, can I get you something to drink? Would you like a coffee? Would you like a water? Would you like a tea? Would you like to sit down? Can I hold this for you? Before they even get into a conversation of selling you something. And I think that itself is transformative. That is something that culturally we're trying to instill as we, put our influence on more and more things, that the people who come in come first, and why they come in, that's the second part of the conversation. So yeah, that's definitely absolutely something that we emphasize from the group within all of our locations. That's something that we always try to keep in mind is to have that core value, is to have the people at heart.
No, that's amazing, and I do look forward to flying over to Dubai and seeing you, and hopefully witnessing this experience firsthand. Susie, you've worked throughout your career, you said you had your own brand. You've also advised others as well. What, how do you drive that engagement? Brendan mentions people come in and experience this, but like, how do you drive that engagement, and how do you continually build that relationship with the customer?
So the way I always think about it is you have essentially four different types of things that you can do to both create that initial connection, where you just do something, you go above and beyond, you surprise and delight a customer, and you've got them. But then you have to keep that relationship going, you have to keep that engagement. And I always think in terms just to organize my thoughts, organize my sort of creative ideas, in terms of four ways in which, in terms of human behavior, that you can form a connection. And it's not dissimilar to a human relationship. It's you're trying to build a connection. So in no particular order of importance, convenience, can I make someone's life much easier? I think that's where Amazon Prime Amazon Prime now, buying something is as easy as breathing. I think another thing that is really important in terms of convenience is fixing things quickly. If you're a retailer and there's a problem, the onus is on the retailer to fix it, not the customer who's gone to the hassle of coming back to the store to, so I do think around the area of convenience, there's huge opportunity for retailers to create and maintain that connection. Generosity, the feeling that a customer is getting a lot more out of the relationship than, if they're gonna shop with you, they want to feel that you value that relationship with them. So spontaneous acts of generosity, whether it's a small gift, go a long way to make someone feel special. Third area is the whole area of higher purpose. Does the brand's values and actions resonate with things that are important for me? So I think we've obviously seen in the last few months an enormous sort of a seismic thing going on, and people have been very discerning, working out which brands are being authentic in their response to that. So I think for a brand and a retailer to be crystal clear on their purpose and make a stand rather than just trying to please everybody is also important. And going back to my earlier example of status, if I am going to commit to a relationship with a brand or a retailer, I want to feel special. So increasingly, I think as people start to, sort of narrow down where they're shopping and say, actually, I'm going to build a relationship with this brand and retailer, I want to feel valued. I want to feel important. It's human nature. So I think those four areas are a great place to start when you're thinking of designing, as retailers think about designing a customer experience, a service, is to start with those four areas and say, how are we going to represent ourselves on those four pillars?
One thing that you mentioned again, like if Brendan knows me, Kevin, you'll learn that I have a really big Nike set of products. I have tons of Air Forces. I love the brand. I play sports. I love the athletic. But I take a step back and I go, why do I love this brand so much? So like Susie, exactly what you said is the purpose. When the Women's World Cup was going on and Nike was talking about pay equality and supporting the women's team, and right now they're doing their "Don't Do It," as opposed to "Just Do It" with their campaign of being quiet on racism. These things resonate with me, unlike my moral compass. So I also find myself so connected to this brand. So Brendan, is there a brand that, regardless of the product, do you feel connected with a brand?
I would not say that I feel connected to a specific brand that kind of has my loyalty undying, simply because we have entered a phase culturally, politically, where brands themselves have created identities themselves that you have to kind of align your core beliefs with, right? Every brand now has mission statements and core values that they put out, not just for shareholders, but for the public to say, I believe in this, I take a stand in this. And I think we've hit a precipice where you have to decide where you land and where you're going to contend to consume and who you're going to continue to consume with. Because this, again, back to Susie's point, is relationships. I have a relationship with you now. It's as much a human relationship as it could be. So I'm not going to put in my circle any bad relationship or any ill relationship where you're doing something I don't believe in, or I'm giving you my money to then do something I don't believe in. So I think as a whole, I've taken a step back and I've reevaluated, back to your point around Nike. Why I have Nikes? What do they believe in? I buy certain brands. What do they believe in? What stands have they taken? What points have they made? Or what have they not said that makes me say, I can't support that anymore? I think we've hit that point now where we have, as consumers and even as brands, have to say, what do I believe in? And that's where I'm going to build this relationship with it. The affinity for a style or a trend, that's gone. I think those days are behind us. I think now we've entered into a mode where we have to really say, do you line up with me enough for me to have this relationship with you for a long time?
Brendan, I couldn't agree more with you on that. We're making choices now about what brands we connect with. So if Rob has frozen, shall I? I'll share. There's one brand that I feel an enormous connection with. I'm at the stage in my life where I'm not swayed by advertising or PR or celebrity placement. I'm really looking for authenticity. And there is a small Irish knitwear brand called Inishmaan that I think is a masterclass in authenticity. Its manufacturing and head office is based on a tiny island off the west coast of Ireland. And they use nothing but local women on the island. It's a very bleak, desolate island. And this small knitwear brand ships all over the world. You will find it in Isetan, every boutique store in the US. There's a fabulous video on Mr. Porter all about, it's 8 minutes long, and it's all about this island and this brand. And for me, this connection with place, people, and purpose means I've rarely come across a brand that has such power and authenticity as this small knitwear brand. And once a year, I go to this island and I visit the shop and I buy knitwear. And it is a pilgrimage. It takes about 11 hours to get there, but it's extraordinary.
Kind of cut out there for a second, so I missed some of that story. But from what I was hearing there at the end, Susie, that's amazing. Brendan, you shared yours. Kevin, did you have a chance to
not yet
talk about a brand that you resonate with as well? Actually,
just listening to, so it's not specifically about a brand, but it comes back down to the people that work inside of the space. So I'm going to use, because I shop at Whole Foods a lot, and it's not just one Whole Foods, it's a specific Whole Foods, because I feel like every time I walk in there, it's like walking into my own home. And those people, they're not trying to clientele you per se, but every time I walk in there, it doesn't matter if it's a cashier or somebody working behind the coffee bar or the hot bar, they've gotten to know me, and it's more about the smile and knowing me by name and really saying, hey, Kevin, how are you this evening? And it's not about just specifically about the brand. Yes, it's about what the brand stands for, but also it's about the way that the people that work for the brand represent it and make you feel. And when you walk into a space and you can tell that the employees are excited to be there and passionate about what they do and excited to be part of a company that, makes them feel good, that speaks volumes to me. And so when you walk into a store, regardless if it's a grocery store, a luxury store, or any type of space, when the employees, have this energy behind them that makes you feel like you want to be there, it screams words about the brand and about who the brand stands for and how they treat their people. And it's all about the people, going back to the people and how they feel. So it's not just one specific brand, it's about going into a space that makes you feel good.
Oh, and I completely resonate with this as well, Kevin. Whenever I go to a Starbucks, when I was living in Jersey and Edgewater, there was a specific place that I would go to, and as soon as I was walking in, by the time I got to the counter, they had my order. They knew exactly which coffee I wanted. They're like, "Hey Rob, how's it going? Here you go," and I just loved it. So completely get it. We actually do have a question from the audience from Brandon. So talk a bit about how to cultivate relationships remotely over digital platforms. Without the physical stores, delivering on-brand promise and being personal is challenging digitally, but critically. So Brendan, you're a CRM manager. I think that would be a good question for you. Brendan to Brendan.
Oh, okay. Well, I think what we've been seeing in the industry this year has been something completely unpredictable, with massive closures, people unable to travel, people unable to visit locations, and it would be negligent to say that I'm sad that we lost money, right? Because people lost a lot more than that. I think what we saw here was, how can we again maintain this connection? And what we were able to do in a lot of instances is really use those one-on-one relationships that our frontliners, our associates established with our customers to continue to keep that conversation going even when stores were closed. And this is something I'm sure Kevin is very familiar with. You get to know these people very personally. You have their phone numbers, you know their kids, you send thoughtful notes to them just a second on them, see how you're doing. And that boomed. I mean, that blossomed was really there's people getting on WhatsApp and sending notes. Hey, I'm still doing well. How are you doing? How's your family? We're doing great. And those conversations continue and they deepen because of that. In times of crisis, people come together even closer. And I mean, outside of just a retail environment, people have real connections here. And I think that's something that we've seen be consistent throughout, the remainder of this year. And even when we're not able to have physical stores, how are we still able to, to meet our customer halfway? I mean, we have associates writing, they'll be in this, writing handwritten notes and putting it in the bag and then dropping it off themselves. There's not like a UPS truck here delivering things. These are the actual associates in the stores sending orders to customers. Hey, I got a couple things you might like. Can I stop by socially distant? I'll be outside. I'll just hold it up in front of the window and you can say whether you like this. And it's something that's been, it's been really empowering to see. It's been really heartwarming in a lot of these cases because these people become very close to each other, and as a brand you have to be able to meet these challenges and remember that at the end of the day this is all a human connection. Be it a physical store, be it a website, be it a clienteling app, which are incredibly beneficial. It's at the end of the day it comes down to that relationship that you have with that person. I think that's something I've seen a lot of during this time.
If I could actually add on to that, Rob, I just had an experience that could help answer that. Is since we don't actually have a store open yet, we have an e-commerce business, and I don't have my team fully in place yet, but I have all my candidates and their about to start and they're eager to start, but one of them has been working in the industry for several years, and he's already so excited to start. He texts me and he goes, I have a VIP client that lives in Colorado and he wants several pieces, and I don't have merchandise because I don't have a store yet, but our ecom does, and we just launched pre-fall. So I directed him, I said, look and see what's available on our website. He goes, the challenge is he needs it overnight. And I was like, well, let me see what I can do. And I've never met this client, and I just started working with the sales associate, and it was just a simple, a text conversation from a relationship that he had with somebody from his previous employer. And we were able to facilitate a sale and get something overnight to this client just through the simple, texting, word of mouth, human connectivity. But also I explained to him about, partnering with proximity and how it's going to be such a helpful tool to be able to use the CRM platform, to be able to have a link and be able to have a FaceTime conversation at the touch of your phone and be able to connect with your client so seamlessly, kind of like we're connecting right now over a virtual platform, but having that e-commerce type of virtual selling space on top of a sales associate working with you in the store talking about products. So it all becomes full circle in how we can digitally connect by just word of mouth and connecting from people that we maybe never worked with before, but it's all it takes is one other relationship to make another relationship. So we're all connected. But I thought it would be a great way to highlight what proximity has to offer too, as far as connectivity in a virtual platform.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been working with our customers extensively, especially this year, on how can we still connect on a personal level if they can't come into the store, and how can you still drive sales through the website and kind of tear down the walls between brick and mortar and e-com sometimes and have this unified brand experience. And the sales associate could be working from home, doing a video chat, showing product, informing them on the website and so forth. So thank you for that. And Kevin, we are super excited to work with you and get ready for that opening in September.
Me too.
So we're now, I know. So we're now coming to a closing to it, and I have one final question for everybody. And Susie, I'll go with you. And it's like, what do you see as the future for retail?
I mean, I'll go back to sort of my core belief is that retailers have got to recognize that they're not running shops anymore, but they're running customers over a lifetime. And how do you sort of pivot your thinking from opening a shop, or not opening a shop, as in the last few months, and start to think about your role in your customers' lives and how you can change how you interact and connect with them. And I think that the merging of physical and digital interaction is where it's going to be really interesting.
Brendan, how about you?
So I think we're all kind of on the same wave here, but it's gonna be that human connection, that personal interaction. I think it comes full circle, and especially at Leeuwen, the history of the company was salespeople going door to door with suitcases and selling wares out of it, and having that black book of clients that I know I can call. And it's going to be their anniversary next week, so I'm headed over. And I think in the boom of industry, that kind of went to the side. And what we've seen now is, especially when it comes to the approach of like clienteling and how we take digital information and we turn it back into a physical interaction. And we're not just focusing on what happens at the till. It's what experience do you have when you come to the location? How can I make that experience better for you? How can I make every step of your journey better? I think that's what the real future is how can I make your life just a little bit better for having known you and you having come in here? Going back to the convenience and that Susie mentioned earlier, all those touch points, all these things, this is what's going to make this be really take it forward, is combining all these things together.
No, absolutely. It seems like there's been a consistent message throughout this whole entire webinar. And, Kevin, last one's on you again.
So I think this is the future of retail, is sharing best practices and being connected like this on a webinar internationally and sharing what's working across the board for everybody. And but also I think the future is more personal and it's more human connectivity, and the way we make people feel is it lasts much longer than the product does. So it's about that feeling, and keep on coming back for more. And also the future of retail is Amiri, because we're opening in September. So just wanted to say that.
No, congratulations again. Again, thank you, Susie, Kevin, Brendan. The answers that I was hearing, simplifying it at the end, it's about people. It's people connected to people and personalizing, and the relationships that we have with the people at the brand and the brand itself. And we are a clienteling solution. We do work with these types of challenges, where how do you connect in this now more digital world, especially with everything going on in the world? How do you have appointments, these virtual chat sessions? How do you talk over WeChat, WhatsApp, SMS, email, etc.? Just to get the people close to each other, the ability to even talk the way that we're talking right now. If you want to learn more about our solution, please scan it. There's a QR code here. You'll actually see what it's like to go through this journey. And thank you again. That's it. Remember, if you could take anything from this webinar, it's the future of retail is human. It's people connecting to people and sharing memorable experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.